Thank you for joining the Washtenaw County Road Commission for our August the 4th virtual board meeting. Before we start the meeting, there are a few housekeeping items to cover. Number one, if you would like to make public comment during this meeting, we will prompt you at the appropriate time in the agenda to virtually raise your hand. If you are viewing the meeting on your computer, first make sure to click Join Audio. You can then raise your hand by clicking the Participants button at the bottom of your screen, and then the raise hand button at the bottom right of your screen. If you dialed into our meeting from your touch-tone phone, you can virtually raise your hand by pressing *9. Once we get to the public comment section on the agenda, we will unmute participants with raised hands one at a time. The chat feature on this Zoom meeting is available only as a technical support for users on their computer or smartphone. If you are experiencing technical issues with audio or video during the meeting, submit a comment in the chat feature and our systems administrator or manager will help you troubleshoot. The audio and video of this meeting is being recorded. A link to the video will be posted to WC Roads in the coming days. And I need to do some housekeeping details myself. There we go. Today's meeting agenda is posted on wcroads.org, and there is a link available in the chat if you are joining us from your computer. The agenda calls for a closed session discussion on the topics listed on the agenda. When we get to that point in the agenda, I will make an announcement. So, it is time to start our meeting, so I will call the meeting to order, and we're going to go through a roll call. Currently speaking is the chairman of the board, Doug Fuller. Barb Fuller is vice chair. Are you there, Barb?
Present.
Member Rod Green.
Here.
Gloria Yamas.
Here.
Joanne McCullum.
Present.
Managing Director Cheryl Siddell.
Present.
County Highway Engineer Matt McDonnell.
Present.
Director of Operations Jim Harmon.
Present.
Director of Finance and IT Mr. Ackerman.
Here.
It is our standard practice, thank you all. It is our standard practice to begin our board meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance. Since we are hosting this meeting virtually today, instead of the pledge, we will start this meeting with a moment of silence to honor all those helping to battle the coronavirus and for those who have been killed by this terrible disease. Thank you. And at this point, I'd like to have a motion concerning the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move the agenda as presented.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to accept the agenda as it's been presented, which requires a roll call vote. Barb Fuller,
Yes.
Rod Green,
Yes.
Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Joanne McCullum,
Yes.
and Doug Fuller votes yes as well. So we have an agenda. We have, I believe, 4 sets of minutes to deal with today. Could I have a motion on the board meeting minutes of July the 21st, which starts on page 1 in your board packets? Could I have a motion?
I move acceptance of the board meeting minutes of July 21st, 2020 as presented.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Those in favor, and I again will require a roll call vote. Barb Fuller,
Yes.
Rod Green,
Yes.
Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Joanne McCullum,
Yes.
and Doug Fuller votes yes. Then on page 12, we have minutes of the working session minutes of July the 21st. Could I have a motion on those minutes
I move that we accept the minutes from July 21st.
for the
Support.
working session? Gloria,
Pardon?
could you add into that minutes to approve the working session minutes of July the
Oh.
20th?
Okay, I move to approve the working session minutes from July 21st, 2020.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Is there any discussions, additions, subtractions from any of the commissioners? Staff is okay? In that case, I will again have a roll call vote. Commissioner Barb Fuller,
Yes.
Rod Green,
Yes.
Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Joanne McCullum,
Yes.
Doug Fuller votes yes as well. Thank you. Then we have minutes of 2 closed sessions. The first one are the closed session minutes during the board meeting, as opposed to the working session. So the closed session in the board meeting, which is in your packet as well. Could I have a motion on those minutes, please?
I motion to accept the closed session meetings of July 21st, 2020 of the board meeting.
I support.
Been moved and supported. Commissioner Fuller,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner McCullum,
Yes.
and Commissioner Doug Fuller votes yes as well. Then we have the closed session minutes of July the 21st, but of the working session, which is also in your board packet. Could I have a motion on those minutes, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move acceptance of the closed session minutes of July 21st, 2020 of the working session.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Commissioner Barb Fuller votes
Yes.
yes, sir. Thank you. Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Joanne McCullum,
Yes.
Doug Fuller votes yes as well. Thank you. Now we move to, this is the time for public comment. This is now the time set aside on the agenda to receive comments from the public. This is not intended to be a period for dialogue. Each person will be allocated 3 minutes to address the board. Emily, do we have such folk?
At this time, Commissioner, we do not have anybody with a raised hand.
Thank you. Moving on in your board packet, starting on page 16, we have about 10 pages of written communications. Were any of those written communications need to be commented on by any of the commissioners?
I have no comments.
I have none.
I have no comment.
I have no comment.
Thank you all. We will move on from written communications then down to consent agenda. Could I have a motion on the consent agenda, which starts on page 28 in my booklet?
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the consent agenda items 1 through 7 as presented.
I support.
Been moved and supported. And again, that requires a roll call vote. Commissioner Barb Fuller,
Yes?
Rod Green,
Yes.
Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Joanne McCullum,
Yes.
and Doug Fuller votes yes as well. Thank you. Rod Green, I'm going to just for no particular reason, and I'll give other people a chance here too. We're going to move on to action items. Number 1 is the right-of-way acquisition on parcel 4. Could you, and I'd like to have that motion read and supported so that we can discuss it if we need to. Rod, would you be so kind as to read that one and make sure?
Yes, sir. That's on
item 4.
page 31. Is that correct?
It is, I do believe that's correct. It is. So I'm starting with that upon the recommendation of the county highway engineer, et cetera.
Mr. Chairman, I move that upon the recommendation of the director of the engineer / county highway engineer and the concurrence of the managing director, the board hereby authorize the director of engineering to sign the quote and issue the purchase order to Northern Concrete Pipe Incorporated
Whoa,
to fabric.
whoa,
Is that the one?
No, sir.
I'm sorry, I apologize. Oh, the previous
Parcel.
motion. I'm sorry, number 1. Regarding Whitmore Lake?
Page
No, sir.
31.
It's
Page
page,
31.
it's
Page
page
31.
31 in the corner, but it's actually page 33 of the PDF. Because the agenda was
Oh.
attached to the PDF, which throws off some of the page numbering. And the top of the page should read action items, and the
I
specific
see it.
item is right-of-way acquisition, and this one would be parcel 4.
Parcel 4, I see it.
Wagner Road South Safety Project.
Yes, sir. Mr.
Okay.
Chairman,
There we
I
go.
move that upon the recommendation of the county highway engineer / director of engineering and concurrence of the managing director, the board hereby approves the acquisition of a 0.10 acre of a
No, you-
0.01 acre or
right.
420 square foot of public roads easement and a 0.0284 acre or 1,240 square foot grading permit from the owner, Ren's Land Company LLC, upon a parcel of property commonly known as 121 South Wagner Road, Sauer Township, Michigan, being on the west side of Wagner Road, south of Liberty Road, and referred to as tax parcel number H-08-35-100-001 in the amount of $375, and further directs the chair and managing director to execute the counteroffer to the good faith author of just compensation as presented.
Thank
Second.
you. Been moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none. Again, we'll need a real roll call. Barb Fuller,
Yes.
Rod Green,
Yes.
Gloria Yamas,
You're muted,
Or
Gloria.
yes.
there we go, thank you. And Joanne McCullum,
Yes.
and Doug Fuller votes yes. The second one, again, an action item, right-of-way acquisition, Wagner Road South Safety Project, parcel number 8 at 2835 South Wagner Road. Barb, would you mind reading that motion for us?
I move that upon the recommendation of the county highway engineer, director of engineering, and the concurrence of the managing director, the board hereby approves the acquisition of a 0.15 acre or 642 square foot public road easement and a 0.065 acre or 2,815 square foot grading permit from the owner, Orchard Grove Village LLC, upon a parcel of property referred to as Orchard Grove Mobile Home Park with a street address of 2835 South Wagner Road, Lodi Township, Michigan, being at the northeast corner of Wagner Road at Waters Road, and a corresponding tax parcel ID number of M-13-01-300-006 in the amount of $3,630, and further directs the chair and managing director to execute the good faith offer of just compensation as presented.
I support.
Moved and supported. Any comments from my fellow commissioners?
I have a comment. I noticed that the good faith offer of compensation to the property owner, it looks like was in the amount of $630. And the property owner made a counter offer of the $2,630. Was it found that indeed the reimbursement for their finance company, Wells Fargo, and processing costs, that it did come to that $2,630? Is that why it's recommended that that be paid to the for compensation?
Basically, yes.
I'd like to ask Kurt Brochet to verify or explain what we would have done to verify those costs.
Certainly. Kurt, you're on.
Yeah, I'm waiting for unmute, so I think I'm here now. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, sir.
Loud and clear.
Thank you. So Wells Fargo is the lender for Orchard Grove Mobile Home Park and or their parent company. Ultimately, the attorney that I've been working with anticipated the cost were going to be at $2,000 for the review internally. I should say internally for Wells Fargo. So they have some pass-through costs, and in fact, once we received the comments or conditional approval from Wells Fargo, they asked for an additional $1,000. So the total cost for Wells Fargo is $3,000 in addition to the original compensation to the property owner of $630. So we revised it yesterday, and you should have a revised motion or resolution in the amount of $3,630.
Oh, okay.
We do. And this is to rephrase, Kurt, and make sure I'm understanding this correctly. The owners of the property, nominally, Orchard Grove Village, are not receiving the $3,630. Wells Fargo is receiving some portion of that.
Substantially, yes, you are correct. Wells Fargo would be receiving $3,000. The property owner has agreed to pay those costs, and we'd be reimbursing them essentially for those costs. And this is a cost that we would be responsible for ultimately to the property owner.
Just for a point of clarification, the motion that Barb read was 2,630. We need or was it 3,000? Okay, good.
She read the updated, she did
Great,
read
thank
the
you.
updated amount.
I
Yes.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, so through the chair,
Yes.
so Barb did read the correct one, so in the notes, it's just not been updated yet. Correct?
You, at least you should have received, I certainly received, Barb received a revised
Updated.
number yesterday.
Okay,
There was an email from Carrie
okay,
that included this revised resolution with the new dollar amount of $3,630.
And I apologize, I'm reading from my screen. So the board packet from the, that I'm reading from is, I guess, is not the revised one. So that's why I was looking at that. But I did get the revised email.
Good, okay. And this is, by the way, I will make the observation, this is rare. In fact, it's the first time that I can recall Kurt having to revise something before a board meeting by one day. And this is not a result of any lack of activity on our part. My understanding is this was wholly Wells Fargo passing that on after they had allegedly previously agreed. I didn't follow every note back and forth. But Kurt, is that basically correct?
That is correct. Staff passed on the revised number as soon as staff had the information, but it did come in after the original board packet was distributed to the board members. So the revised amount is $3,630. $630, which I believe Commissioner Fuller did read as part of her motion.
She did.
I'll also add that this right-of-way acquisition is the last step in the final submittal for these plans for the Wagner Road safety improvements at Waters. And once we have recorded the right-of-way after this motion presumably passes, then we can move on to submitting the right-of-way certification and then ultimately get in the next available MDOT bid letting. So we appreciate you making accommodation for that revision. Thank you.
Welcome, sir. With that, are commissioners satisfied to move forward here?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Again, a roll call vote. Barb Fuller,
Yes.
Rod Green,
Yes.
Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
and Doug Fuller votes yes as well. Thank you. And get back to my agenda. At that point, I will ask for reports. Do we have any county commissioners with us today that would like to report?
Doesn't look like it.
We do not at this time.
Okay. Road commissioner reports, and we'll start with Gloria, if that's okay.
Sure. So I'd like to report that I did attend a SEMCOG training that was recommended, I believe, by Matt. So I want to thank you for that, but I have also decided I'm going to take another SEMCOG training class because of the USOCs that everybody kept using, or the ABCs. That's, I kept on trying to go back and like, what are they talking about? So I did muddle through that and spent a lot of time looking up the acronyms that they kept on making references to. And I did send them a suggestion that they need to state what the acronym is, because you speak in acronyms, you start speaking.
The SEMCOG people are
another
almost
language.
as bad as
They
the
say-
WATS people for using acronyms. They certainly are. And
Yes, they-
thank you very much. SEMCOG is probably the most underutilized resource, not by the road commission, but by members of SEMCOG. And by the way, just for information's sake, we pay 25%. We, using our MTF dollars, pay 25% of the total bill for Washtenaw County to belong to SEMCOG.
Yeah, and I will be utilizing it. I'm going to look on there and get some real basic classes. I felt like I stepped into a 400 class and I'm really a freshman. But I attended that on 7/29, and on 7/23 did a human resources that I was running crazy late to. So I will be doing more of that. And thank you, Cheryl, for that, because that was informative.
Gloria, Joanne?
Yes, I attended the same human resource class on July 23rd. And also on August 28th, I attended a Washtenaw County Parks and Rec orientation. And then on August 29th was my first board meeting with the Washtenaw County Parks and Rec.
Well received from what we got told this morning. They were complimentary. Is that it? Joanne, is that it?
Yes, it is, Doug.
Okay, thank
you.
Rod Green.
Mr. Chairman, on the 23rd of July, I attended a virtual meeting of the Executive Committee of SEMCOG, Southeast Michigan Council of Governments, and we heard from MDOT Director Paul Ajibba. He spoke extensively about the Rebuilding Michigan Bonding Program, which is the 5-year bonding program that has 3 objectives. One is to rebuild state highways and bridges that are critical to the state's economy and carry most traffic. Number 2, to engage in fixes that extend the road life and improve our state's infrastructure. And also 3, to address key corridors and major segments of highly traveled roadways in an attempt to coordinate the road and bridge projects. The new 5-year plan is expected to generate $7.3 billion, and there are 122 projects that have been added to the 5-year plan. 2 projects in Washtenaw County, which are slated for 2021 and 2022, and that's a rehabilitation of I-94 from Freer Road to Parker Road, which costs about 28.6 mil, and a portion of US 23 from Stony Creek to Ellsworth, also road rehab, which is going to cost about $38.2 million. And also we're advised that the executive director, Kathleen Lamaco, is expected to retire in October after over 40 years of service at SEMCOG.
Wahoo!
So,
Do you have any insight into who they're going to choose next?
none whatsoever. But I think whoever
Would you like
steps in
me to
that
mention
position
your
will
name?
be, I said, no. They've got some big shoes to fill. She's been there a long time.
She has been. Okay, thank you. How many people let me rephrase that, since you're not meeting physically, and you have huge experience with SEMCOG, did it appear like the list of attendees was higher because of Paul being there?
I don't think so. About the same. We averaged about 45 to 50 people, which is
Right.
pretty good. Pretty good turnout. But he gave a good presentation.
He does indeed. Thank you. Is that anything else to report?
Nothing else.
Okay. Barb Fuller.
On July 31st, at the request of the chair, I engaged the managing director in an annual performance evaluation. And on August 3rd, I attended a portion of the virtual Southeastern Council of the County Road Association. Also wanted to let folks know that in response to the COVID-19 pandemic and the anticipated remote learning for students of all ages, the Washtenaw County Broadband Task Force is in the process of deploying cellular hotspots to 7 or 8 rural township halls to provide public Wi-Fi access from their respective parking lots. This is a stopgap measure that is better than no access, but it's not intended to be a long-term solution to the lack of broadband access in rural Washtenaw County.
Can I ask a question on that particular topic?
Sure.
Is it possible for adjacent townships, no matter what county they're in, to give money to Linden Township and tie on to their infrastructure?
It's my understanding that the conditions of their bond financing prohibits that kind of extension of their service across the township boundary line. It has been requested both from people in Dexter Township as well as in Jackson County to be able to do that. And it's my understanding that it's because of the phrasing of the financing that at this point it's not permitted.
Okay. Thank you. We talk more offline after that. Okay. I will, did you hear the, Barb, this is still a question for you. Did you attend that part of the Southeast Council meeting that included the McChrysip report?
No.
Okay, thank you. McChrysip, my report, McChrysip, which is our liability insurance carrier, which is a pool that road commissions and only road commissions, not road departments, but road commissions can join if they want to. Our commission made that decision to join more than 15 years ago. Cheryl, do you remember?
No.
Okay. Anyway, we are insured through McChrysip. I happen to sit on that board. We have a requirement in our bylaws to have an annual meeting, and report to the stockholders, as it were. We could not do that this year. So we did not have a Zoom meeting. We had a company pre-record a meeting, and then played that recording for people. I thought it went well. I actually thought some of it was better than it was when it's live. Because when you are forced to write things down and read it back, it gets more clear and more concise. So I thought that went relatively well. So anyway, that would conclude my comments. Managing Director Cheryl, your turn.
Just a couple quick things. Obviously, today is election day, so hopefully I will be sharing some positive results for you on the millage tomorrow. Fingers crossed. One way or the other, I'll share with you the results, hopefully tomorrow, assuming that the ballots are all counted in time. But as soon as we know anything, I'll be sure to pass that along. The other thing is that I shared with you previously that we were switching our dental provider starting January 1, 2021 over to Delta Dental. So Nicole and I have started to meet with various staff so that we are sharing with them what we're doing, why we're doing, giving them the opportunity to ask any questions. We also will be holding an evening Zoom meeting with employees so that they can include their spouses if there's any questions, along the family lines, or that if it's an employee who for whatever reason missed the smaller opportunity to answer questions with Nicole and myself, as well as we'll have a meeting with retirees since they're a little harder for us to meet on a more personal level. We'll hold a Zoom as well from them. And Nicole has also been receiving several phone calls from retirees. So we're trying to push that information out as much as possible so that our employees and retirees are comfortable with the decision that we're making. Before I turn it over to the directors to share their information, just a quick reminder that when we conclude the board meeting today, Dan and Chris would like to have the opportunity to have the five of you together to just sort of talk about the technology that's been presented and see what you're comfortable with, and if there's any questions, things gone right, things gone could be done better, or any assistance that we can provide to you. So just a little reminder that we won't be quite done with you when we're done with the board meetings. So with that, I'd be more than happy to turn it over. Dan, why don't we go ahead and start with you?
And just a reminder on the meeting with the commissioners, we'd like to do it on a Teams meeting. I sent out a meeting request to all of you. So the plan would be to end this Zoom call, and then if you could go to the Teams link, we'd like to do it that way. And hopefully all of you can attend. So if there are issues or concerns you have with the technology, I think it'd be good for all of you to hear the same thing. Or all of you, someone may have a question that you may have as well. So I think it would just be good for you to hear that. Also with IT, the fiber line to our administrative building, that's complete. And we switched over our main network on Friday. And I, for one, noticed an immediate improvement when I remoted in from home. I got onto our financials. And I don't know if this is possible, but it almost seemed like it was quicker than if I was in the office. So I think I was just, maybe I made that up. But anyway, the speed was much quicker. And we have our traffic network at some point in the near future that we want to convert over in our phone system as well.
That's the speed of light, Dan.
Speed of light, that's right. Yep, that's
Truly,
right.
It is on fiber. It's the speed of light.
It's amazing what kind of difference it made, and I've heard from some other users too that are working from home that they've also noticed an improvement. So just nice project for Chris Quinter, our IT manager, to be able to come close to completion. And as far as finance, I appreciate the approval of the budget, the second quarter budget. Obviously, nothing has changed since the working session that we had with everyone. The June Michigan Transportation Funds, unfortunately, we didn't provide it to you today, but they were flat. So normally I wouldn't get too excited about a flat MTF, but after 3 months of declines, including double-digit declines, we'll take it. So apparently people were driving more, I forget what, I guess that would be in May, because of the delay from when the receipts are collected. So that was definitely good news, and staff did not see that there were any adjustments that we needed to make from the working session. And that's all I have, unless there's any other questions. Thank you.
Dan? Jim, would you like to bring us up to speed on operations?
Sure. Thanks, Cheryl. Good afternoon, everyone. The operations staff report is in your packet, pages 63 through 68. Covers the period of July 13th through July 26th. I must say that 2-week period was very busy and very productive. So I'd answer any questions that you have about what's reflected in that. Beyond that, just a couple of highlights. Monday, I sent an update on the numerous projects that the operations department is tasked with completing. We're all taking a great sense of pride in those accomplishments and fulfilling those commitments, especially to our township partners. That work is ongoing across the county at this time. I really wanted to highlight kind of our central project, which is the state road improvements. It's a county millage project. It's located between Old State Road and Ellsworth Road in Pittsfield Township. We're presently working with our contractor and subcontractors on the central portion, which is, again, funded by the millage, but also co-funded by Pittsfield Township. This board entered into agreement with Pittsfield Board of Trustees to do some additional work and further enhance that section of roadway, that central section of roadway. I'm pleased to report that under the project management of Mike Burnbeck, our operations engineer, Mike administers our countywide asphalt resurfacing program. The contractors have completed the roadside trenching and the asphalt base widening to provide the 3-lane section that Pittsfield desired, is also the grade width to accommodate shoulders, composite shoulders. So a portion of that will be paved and the other portion will be limestone surfaced. And in addition, completed the profile milling of the existing road. So took out all the irregularities. We cut out failed pavement where it had been patched for umpteen years, and removed that and repaved those areas. The contractor also installed ADA ramp upgrades, and some center median islands at the railroad crossing, right in the middle of the project, just south of Lavender Lane. And that was in partnership, the design of all of that was in partnership with Brent Schlack and our traffic and safety professionals, assisted with the development of those unique plans. There are no plans, drawings as we would typically have with a major project. This is something that is done really by the professional judgment of our engineers, our technicians in traffic and safety, and Mike Burnbeck particularly, with the assistance of John Miles, our professional supervisor. A team of people that collectively have a vast amount of road construction experience, and especially Mike, over 30 years of experience, and able to accomplish this work with minimal overhead and preliminary engineering. So we're pleased with the progress that's been made. We're excited to move forward. The contractor is scheduled this Thursday and Friday to do 2 courses of asphalt. The first course is the leveling course. That'll go on the recently milled surface. And then the top course is intended for Friday. Saturday, the contractor will put the aggregate shoulders, the limestone shoulders along that section of road, and we intend to open the road with temporary pavement markings. Then later this month, we're hopeful the contractor will be able to return, mill the northern section from Morgan up to Ellsworth, past the airport, and the southern section from Textile down to Old State, and then do the asphalt resurfacing on that. At that point, be able to do all the final pavement markings, and project will be complete. So I would suspect with any punch list items, probably September. it'll be substantially complete, hopefully this month, and any final punch list will be wrapped up in September. So that's exciting to move that forward. Our chip seal operation, which the board recalls is over 100 miles of primary asphalt preservation, is ongoing. We're currently working in York Township on Saline Milan Road. We completed Stony Creek, Saline Milan today, Moorville, from Saline Milan over to the city of Milan, and a couple of small segments of local road under partnership with York Township this afternoon. Then we'll be moving east into Augusta Township, north into Ypsilanti and Pittsfield Townships, and ultimately, hopefully within the next 2 to 3 weeks, complete the chip seal program in the northeast part of the county. At that point, commissioners, we will resume fog seal operations and go back up into the Chelsea area and work around the county in a counterclockwise direction, probably with 2 separate fog seal crews. And we're hoping by mid to late September, we'll have that pavement preservation completed. In addition, various local road limestone resurfacing projects and drainage improvements are ongoing countywide under our township partnerships. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have for me or the operations department.
I do. Mr. Chair, if I may?
Please, Barb.
Jim, I'm excited and remarkably so about how quickly the project on South State Road seems to be proceeding, and the containment of the overhead expenditures as well. Is this a unique situation where it's local dollars involved, so you have more latitude in moving this along? I mean, it feels like this is really fast, which is great, but that you're talking about relying on the expertise, rightfully so, of people with a great deal of experience, but none of the typical hoops and restrictions and requirements that I'm used to hearing about projects on a road like this.
Thank you for the question. I very much appreciate it. This is unique in that, keep in mind, our countywide asphalt resurfacing program is preventative in nature. We mill the existing surface, meaning we plane it off, we remove it, 1 to 4 inches of the asphalt is removed depending on the situation, and then it's resurfaced. So it's milling and filling the existing road. In this case, Pittsfield had requested some enhancement, and really Matt and his group with Mike and I's involvement had vetted that and weren't able to fully accommodate from an engineering standpoint, a physical standpoint, what the township was hoping for, but we're able to come up with a reasonable compromise to get some widening out there. All of this, of course, having to be accomplished this construction season, and really as part of the countywide millage. So we didn't have the benefit of time to develop to complete elaborate survey and drawings and go through that rigorous process that you referred to. Instead, literally depending on the expertise of this agency and its capability, and Mike particularly over 3 decades of doing exactly this. I had the benefit, the privilege of meeting Mike on the job recently several times, and really he and I getting our head wrapped around what we're trying to accomplish out there within a very constrained area. And again, I can't speak highly enough about Mike's ability to visualize and to coordinate with contractor. Complimentary of the contract that this board has with our paving contractor, a multi-year contract. That contractor is highly capable. Its subcontractor is highly capable and able to have the pay items that are necessary, the various ingredients that go into a job like this, Barb, in order to pull this off. And I want to assure the board, this isn't being done in a haphazard manner, a sloppy manner. I didn't take your comments that way at all. I just want to reassure the board, this is being done in a quality manner within the financial constraints that we have within a very constrained area. And I think we'll get some years of benefit out of this. I know the township desires even further enhancement of the corridor, but this will buy time, increase capacity, and improve safety in the meantime.
And I'd like to build on what Jim just said. Barb, you're correct. The funding source was important in this project for us to be able to have the type of flexibility that we did in pulling this together. Had this had state or federal dollars in it, instead this is why we like these millage dollars. They're local dollars, and we have a little bit more leeway on what we can do with them. Had it had state or federal dollars in it, Gloria, it would have looked like a lot like what you just went through the other day, where it was alphabet soup and a lot of hoops to jump through, which staff is prepared to do when we have those federal and state dollars. But when we have local dollars, we have a little bit more flexibility in the decisions that we make, what is right for our community, and in this case, along that corridor. It also does get to the type of work that was done. As Jim explained, with it being a mill and fill, there wasn't a lot of earthwork involved, meaning we didn't have to move a lot of the ditches around and things like that. Had we done some additional work, and Supervisor Graywall certainly would have preferred that we had done more work in other areas that would have greatly increased the scope of work of that project. But we were able to come up with an area that we could do improvements that were satisfactory to the township, that we could also carry out in the manner that Jim just described. So it really was a combination of the funding source and the type of work that was being performed for us to be able to do a project in the manner that we just did.
And Commissioners, my final remarks on State Road, this is not a reconstruction of that important roadway. This is, at its heart, a resurfacing of the pavement to extend the life of the pavement and restore a smoother and more convenient surface out there with some widening. So our goal going forward is to be mindful of the road condition. As the pavement ages, we expect to see cracks in the pavement. To seal those cracks in a timely fashion, perhaps do seal coating on that pavement, keep the water out of the road, and maintain it in that fashion going forward until such time as there's a much grander project that's secured and obligated for a more substantive reconstruction of the road. So, are there any other questions?
It's really exciting that you were able to be innovative and creative and rely on the people that you know and trust with the expertise to pull this off. And again, to highlight the fact that this was possible because of the partnership between the people who approved the millage and the township that was willing to step forward and put its dollars in as well. It's just a beautiful example of why all this local money really gets put to work right at home quickly.
I agree. Mike did a lot of door-to-door with the local businesses. With COVID, some of the business operations are perhaps a little less than they would be otherwise, but he did a lot of door-to-door, a lot of engagement with them, and we've heard a tremendous amount of positive response on what's occurring and how rapidly things are progressing, how efficiently things are progressing. We've still been able to maintain access for everyone in there. And that's been a really nice feature of this project as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Cheryl?
All right, if I could turn it over to Matt.
Yes, as part of the board packet in the second quarter budget amendments, you've got on page 54 and 55 lists of our projects, the state and federal aid, the alphabet soup version. It's over $20 million worth of work that we're working on that is either active in construction or preparing for construction next year. I'd be happy to answer any questions on that list and or the local dollars that on the next sheet, on sheet 55 of the packet. Go ahead.
One question just for the edification of my fellow commissioners, principally. The contractor that's doing the textile project down by Celine, the roundabout, is whom?
C&D Hughes.
Yeah. For the benefit of my fellow commissioners, C&D Hughes is a local success story. Many moons ago, I worked with Mr. Hughes. Well, he and I both were employed by the same construction company. He decided that he could do it better on his own, and has demonstrated for the last 40 years that he was correct. Every time we've happened to have had the pleasure of seeing D. Hughes working for us, I think it would be a fair statement, we've been more than a little bit pleased with progress of their work. Would that still be fair, Matt?
Yeah, that project is progressing nicely. In fact, they're working on paving the final top course of asphalt, coordinating with street lighting, getting restoration. Next will be pavement markings and signing, and our hope is within the next 2 weeks, we'll see that intersection open back up. So that's going very well, and it's looking very good. If you have an opportunity to be in the area, it's a very nice single lane roundabout. It's gonna, I think, function very well and be a very safe intersection. That was safety money that we were able to get out of the state through a competitive grant. Another roundabout project, Pontiac Trail and 7 Mile, that is also wrapping up in the next, I would anticipate 2 weeks. That intersection will also open for traffic, looking very good. Wrapping up items, paving, I believe, is nearing completion as well. Pavement marking and signing to come, and that project's doing well. Another project nearing completion of a closure on Kavanaugh Lake Road for a culvert replacement. The concrete pavement above the culvert is being placed, I believe, either today or tomorrow. And then we'll have some miscellaneous restoration and open to traffic within the next week or so, I anticipate. Other projects that are underway are the Miller and Wagner Road intersection. That's another single lane roundabout that's just getting underway. So progress was slowed a little bit by utility relocations and contractors' timing to get to the job site. But they are there and working hard now. So any questions on any of those projects?
Gaze in your crystal ball. This is the beginning of August. Are they going to have that roundabout completed by the end of September?
Which one?
That would be Miller and Wagner.
Yeah.
That I think the chair's referring to. I think certainly the contractor that's on there is Sponson. They're very good at what they do, and they were just, I think, going to direct enough resources to. Our hope is to get that roundabout open first, and then they will then turn their attention to the replacement of the bridge with a concrete box culvert. So that's our hope. We'll see where it goes, and obviously weather dependent. Also wrapping up paving on Waters Road in Pittsfield Township. That's west of Oak Valley Drive to the township line. That was a road in dire need of a major rehabilitation, which it has gotten, and they're adjusting structures and looking to do final paving here shortly. Next up on our federal aid preventive maintenance is Whitaker Road in both Augusta and Ypsilanti Township, along with Maple Road. Resurfacing will occur after the opening to traffic at Textile Woodland. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any other questions, and feel free to contact me if you have questions on projects.
Thank you, sir.
All right, that's it from the staff's perspective.
Okay, so now we need to move into a closed session. Emily, would you like to execute that, please? Or actually, we need to have a motion, excuse me. we need to have a motion to move into closed session for the purpose of an update on the Chestnut Development, the WCRC. Can I have such a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Commissioner Barb Fuller,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
You have to unmute, Rod.
yeah. In the meantime, Commissioner Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Doug Fuller, Rod Green,
Yes.
thank you. Been moved and supported, so now we are in a closed session. Emily, could you tell us when we're ready to, when you've got an open session? Cheryl, absent some other thing that you're hiding from us all on the agenda, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I am not hiding anything other than my reminder to please activate your teams and so that we can go right into the technology review. And we promise to make it as short as
Brief.
possible.
We promise to make it brief.
And is it worth noting that the other Mr. Ackerman is not related to our Mr. Ackerman?
No relation. I'm
Both
also
like
not
money.
related. I'm also not related to Al Ackerman, the former sportscaster from Channel 4 either.
Oh, all
No
right,
relation.
all right,
Popular last name.
I guess.
Yeah.
I move for adjournment.
Support.
Moved and seconded. Commissioner Barb Fuller,
Yes.
Rod Green,
Yes.
Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Doug Fuller votes yes as well. We are adjourned.